What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another update with Brian Daigle. How are we today, Brian?
I'm good, brother, and great to be spending some time with you, my brother. So, and all the We Are Tottenham TV family. So, looking forward to this.
Yeah, I thought I'd bring you a bit. There was a bit of breaking news on social media. I mean, it's kind of like not. It's like from a really good journalist, but nothing really has happened yet. But there is definite interest for a certain player, which we're going to get into now. And he goes by the name of Arnaud Kalimuendo, Loic Tanzi, who is a tier one journalist out in France. So when he says something to do with French players, you should be listening to that. And he says Tottenham have decided in recent hours to accelerate in the Arnaud Kalimuendo case. No offer has been made due to wanting to understand the price. Spurs will turn their interest to action by making contact with Rennes management, and that is set to begin soon. So no bid as of yet. We're just creeping into the negotiations with Rennes. And I think when this news kind of broke on social media about an hour ago, probably every single Spurs fan channeled their inner Danny Rose, started getting to Google straight away, because before an hour ago, I literally had never heard of this player. But he had got 17 goals in the French league last season, I think third or fourth in the ranking, 23 years of age. Have you heard of him? Do you know anything about him?
First of all, let's not get away from interest into action. What a phrase that is. What a brilliant new addition that is to bingo. I remember us being linked with a French striker or a striker from the French leagues last. I don't know if it's the same guy, but
I think you're talking about Evan Guessand.
There you go. So it's two different. Okay, so it is a different one. Yeah, I had not heard about this until social media went absolutely rife. Never heard of him, so can't say a damn thing about him.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'd never heard of him before today, but I've done quite a bit of Googling on him since then. And it looks as though he's a guy that obviously knows where the back of the net is. 17 goals, 6 of those coming from the penalty spot, though. He kind of profiles very similar to a Yohan Wissa. So very different to a Dom Solanke. I think Lily White Lab did a really good thread on him just recently. So let's just bring that up quickly. And this is it. And he says, Kalimuendo to Spurs, profile, constantly hungry to get in the box, wants to always run beyond the baseline, pushes the opposition back, real sharp shooter, can get shots off rapidly without breaking stride. Some weakness in refinement in link up. For me, he's everything you want in a backup 9. Complete opposite to Solanke, so can rotate with him nicely for certain opposition. Will also be hungry to score off the bench in late points in games. And it says, for me, I see Solanke being deployed as more of a facilitator of 2 inside forwards under Frank to utilize his brilliant link up and hold up play. However, in certain opposition, we may want to leave the 10 area more to the likes of Kulusevski and Maddison to create for a striker who can run the inside channels and try getting behind. And this striker will definitely do that. The signing gives Frank much more flexibility of how to structure his attack depending on opposition. Meant to add to this too, that Solanke and Kalimuendo would really pair well nicely in a front two. Their profiles complement each other rather nicely. So without seeing him play too much and seeing how he got what he got out of Wissa last season, 19 goals, and with him being a completely different profile, Solanke, I kind of welcome if he kind of matches up to all the data that suggests, and if he can replicate what he showed in front of goal last season as well, he can use both feet really well, can finish with both feet. I kind of welcome a signing like this to the number 9 position.
Yeah, like I said, this summer window, whoever comes in, I'm going to champion and support, because, as we said, the one thing that, and it's brilliant that you mentioned Wissa, because it's a prime example. Who knew who Wissa was before he came to Brentford and got under the tutelage of Thomas Frank, with many players that we can all name? Does it look like, obviously, the Spurs fans are going to go nuts because it's Tell, and now could be this one? And they're like, oh, here we go again. We think it's going to change, and here we go. This is happening, and I can understand that. I'm going on the path of this 2.5 months of this window left. But if that's what the striker can do, like I said, with Thomas Frank and his coaching staff, I'm not going to turn my nose up at any signing because I've seen what he can do with talent. So as much as I'd rather we went for a Gyökeres, for example, which is clear we're not going to get for obvious reasons, then who Thomas Frank pinpoints is fine by me.
Yeah, we've seen him bringing these kind of signings, like you mentioned, with Wissa and Buemo, all these kind of players that were rather unknowns before.
Ollie Watkins.
Ollie Watkins as well, where Thomas Frank got his hands on, and he made them into stars. I'm not saying this guy is going to be an absolute star because he's going to come in as a backup striker first and foremost, but he's still young. Definitely got a lot of learning to do, and I'm sure Thomas Frank can develop him into a very, very good player. He started on the ranks of PSG. That's where he came through. Then got a move to Lens on loan, then to Rennes, and for Rennes, he's better his goal tally every season. So first season was 7 goals and 30, next was 10 and 30, and last season 17 and 30. So he's definitely a player that is getting better year on year. And you're looking at it with the kind of way that we're going. Odegaard on the right, Tell on the left, this guy up front, a bit of a young French future, it looks like at Spurs.
French and Swedish takeover. Gone are the Belgian barriers. It seems to be the Swedish and French Revolution.
And Danish. Don't forget Danish.
Of course. Oh, yeah. And the young English. Let's not forget that. But like we said, it's a name that no one had heard of until this all broke, unless you followed French football or were French yourself. It's going to get the people talking, oh, here we go again. And honestly, you can't blame it. You can't blame them. But like we said, one of the greatest things that Frank does is brings in players, develops them, and his coaching staff. And could this be another one?
Yeah. I just feel like just profile-wise, like he fits really nicely into what we're going to try and do, and particularly when we want to play a 2 up top with him and Solanke dropping a bit deeper, him running in behind a bit more, link-up play will be nice. And from what I hear, he's fairly physical as well and can play with his back to goal. And for you, does a signing like this signal the end of Richarlison?
Yes. Yeah. But also what I was about to add to that is just, it does signal Richarlison's going, but with the word backup striker, doesn't mean there might not be a third striker that might be bought. This guy's a young talent that could be Solanke, who I think is going to have a much more productive season number-wise than last season played under Frank. People will say, yeah, he's not good enough, that we need a better, he needs to be like the substitute striker. Maybe that is the case. But I think another striker could be coming in, and maybe this guy is the one for like the what's it called, the understudy between those two. Who knows? But yeah, I think Richarlison's days are numbered.
Yeah, I mean, I say backup striker, but I don't really like to use that term because we need a squad and everyone's going to need to be used, right? And different games call for different profiles to be needed. And some games, it will be him starting ahead of Dom Solanke. And look, Solanke will be the first choice striker, no doubt about it. But there will be games where his profile is going to be needed more. Not to say that with this deal is definitely going to get over the line, but it looks as though we are going to be creeping into and monitoring situations.
Mate, the other way to look at it, Ben, just very quickly, is you can look at it like Wissa, but we can also look at it, and last time we did this was Valise. And look how well that worked. Obviously, that was a different profile of player, a young talent that was going to be a backup, and obviously that has gone hideously wrong. But that was with the old coaching systems, with the old player recruitment. So it's food for thought. Let's just hope it's more Wissa than it is Valise if it comes off.
Yeah, but as well, like we say, a young player, which he is, but he's not like a teenager or anything. He's 23 years of age, so he should be expected to come in and make an impact this season. It's not like, yeah, fine, he's got to get used to the league and the pace of the league and the physicality and everything like that. But in terms of age, he's coming in at a good age, isn't he?
True. And there's been nothing about the fee at all, has there?
No, nothing.
That will be another thing to see, because people will say that could have gone X, Y, and Z. And again, it's understandable. But we want Spurs to say, right, here we go. Here's a player for you to get like food for thought and go, oh my God, this is more like it. And this won't really do anything for that, will it?
Yeah, I would say that if we would like, first of all, in terms of a fee, he joined Rennes in 22 from PSG for 20 million euros. So you'd expect that we'll be spending minimum 30 on him, like minimum at the very minimum.
Yeah,
So if we got Tell coming in, this guy coming in, and let's say we save that kind of marquee signing for an Embuemo or a Semenyo on the right hand side, would that constitute as good business for you?
well, Embuemo coming in or Semenyo is great business. Depending fee, obviously 70 million is high. When we're saying we want leadership, we want quality, we want genuine Premiership proven or at least elite level proven, that doesn't do much for the appetite, does it? In that demographic. But like I said, I trust Thomas Frank, and it's why I wanted him for so long. So I might not be over the moon ecstatic because we didn't really go get Champions League ready players again. I will have faith in Frank and his coaching staff.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I would have preferred someone to come in that is more established, but looking at the profile he is and looking at what Frank has done in the past with these kind of players, that rather unknown players, and made them established players, it does give me a bit more confidence just because of who the manager is right now, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, I mean, the one that just sprung to mind when we were seeing this is kind of like, do you remember when Michu joined Swansea?
Yeah.
No one had heard of him. Not saying he'll replicate it, but these strikers do come in occasionally and literally are like, bang, takes to the Premier League like a duck to water. I'm not saying that this is generally going to happen, but I'm not going to write anyone off.
Yeah. So that's that. I'm sure in the coming days we'll get some more information of that if Spurs actually do end up making a bid. But the next player that we're going to talk about is Rooney Bardghji of Copenhagen. Graham Bailey says that Tottenham have held talks over a deal for Copenhagen starlet Rooney Bardghji, has been dubbed as the Swedish Messi. So you're talking about the Swedish takeover. We've got the Swedish Messi, and you know what? You scoff at that. But the last time we were linked with someone called the Georgian Messi, he hasn't turned out too badly, has he?
Yeah, I just love when people make these comparisons. Now, this is a name that has been linked to Tottenham for a while now, hasn't it? Yeah. And let's see if that materialises. The Swedish Messi, that's just gold. We'll see if it materialises.
The problem with this one, Brian, he did about a year ago, maybe even a bit more, he did his anterior cruciate ligaments, and he's been out for a long time injured. He came back and played his first game back, when was it? In March. He's played about 5 or 6 games since then, hasn't completed 90 minutes, been off the bench and started a couple of games. He's back injured now. However, at 19 years of age, do you take the punt on it? Because his contract runs out at the end of this year in December. At the end of December, his contract's done. He's not signing a new one. With the talent that he has, do you take a punt on it, or do you just say, you know what, I don't know about this. The injuries just don't sit right with me.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about 30 million for the player that we were just speaking about before, that's more money out of the transfer budget for genuine quality. And then you go and say that even though it's 10 million, we know how Spurs operate. Do we take 10 million on an injury ravaged player, or a player who's been with serious injury, and take a punt that he is going to get back to Swedish Messi-like status? I would say save that for more experienced players, or wages, or whatever it may be.
But you could even say, like, wait till the end of his contract and get him on a free, even.
Or that option. Let's go with that option. Option B.
And last but not least, I mean, we can just quickly gloss over this one, but Matt Law says that Tottenham are not expected to enter the race to sign Jack Grealish, which is no surprise to anyone with the wages that he's on and the form that he's been on. Were you one that wanted him?
I'm so undecided with this. So undecided, because on his day, he can be superb. He really, really can. And I know I was watching you and Sim earlier when you were talking and doing the transfer list. And obviously his wages will be an issue. He hasn't been at his best for the last 2 years. But with the motivation of the World Cup and trying to force your way back into the England squad, could that be just the ticket to get him back and motivated? Wages are going to be a sticking point. If it is a loan deal, I wouldn't mind Spurs going for it nearer the end of the window if they haven't been able to bring in an Eze and a Mbeumo or Semenya or whatever. But I don't want that to be early business, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I'm not. I mean, look, if it was after Aston Villa, I'd be dying to take Jack Grealish off their hands. But I don't know, man. I just feel like he's got an unbelievable amount of talent, but is he the kind of player that we want through the club now in a new era?
Correct.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so, to be honest. But look, that is the update that we have for you today. The big news of the update, obviously, is that Spurs have decided in recent hours to accelerate a deal for Arnaud Kalimuendo, French striker that has played on the wings a couple of times this season as well from Rennes. 17 goals this season, 10 last season. So a player clearly improving. If you know much about him, let us know in the comment section below. And any developments that happen on the deal, we'll bring it to you here first on We Are Tottenham TV. Big up to Brian. Go and subscribe to Tottenham on Tour as well, as you can see behind him. Brilliant channel. And yeah, we'll see you all soon, guys. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on,
Come on, you
Spurs.
Spurs.